I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is 5:30 or 3:35 p.m. Everyone, would please stand and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Justin Heather.
Present.
Mr. Joseph Beck.
Present.
Ms. Rosario Cabello. Here. Mr. Wilfredo Martinez.
Here.
Ms. Carol Alexander.
Here.
Okay, and Mr. Orlando Navarro and Mr. Jose Ceballos did mention they would be not attending this meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse those two absences. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say
Aye.
All opposed? Carries unanimously.
You have quorum. You may continue.
Thank you. Next up, the minutes. You have in your packet the minutes for November 21st of 2023. If you've had the chance to review them, entertain a motion to approve, subject to any revisions or comments folks may have.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, even though I was not in attendance, I will put the motion on the floor to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Neva. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Next up, item 5, citizen comments. Citizens are required to fill out a witness card no later than 3:45 p.m. It can be found at the meeting location. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. No more than 3 persons will be allowed to speak on any one side of an issue. Speakers may not pass their minutes to any other speaker. Comments should be relevant to city business and delivered in a professional manner. No derogatory remarks will be permitted. Do we have any citizen comments?
As of right now, there's nobody signed up.
Okay, we'll keep that window open until 3:50 p.m. Next up, presentation items. We'll start first with item 6, discussion of any downtown-related effort or activity of a board member's interest or concern. Does anyone have anything they'd like to raise with the board? Okay.
I don't think there's any.
All right, we'll move on to item 7. These are the standard administrative status updates on the ongoing work items, including the mural program, wayfinding and monument markers, TASA, and the Laredo Center of the Arts Angle parking.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Rick Solis, project administrator with Able City. I'm here to just provide a quick update on some of these items. As far as the mural program is concerned, of a draft that's been generated. I believe that was disseminated to all the board members. I don't know if anyone has any comments on that draft. We're working with economic development on putting that together. They did have a request of us to put together a little map with some addresses and some exhibits as part of that RFP, which we are in the process of doing and will be submitting back to Economic Development Department to get that done so that we can put that program to work.
Great.
I don't know if anyone has any general comments on the draft that was sent out.
I liked it. I appreciated the flexibility it provided for the artists, and I'm ready for it to move forward.
Oh, the draft, the proposal?
Yes.
I did have some, I'm sorry, I just saw it today for the first time. And I thought that I had volunteered to be on whatever committee was putting this together. But I know it was the holidays and I never saw anything, but I did have some concerns about the program objectives.
Okay.
And we had talked about that. And so one of the objectives is to revitalize downtown as a cultural and shopping experience. I'm not sure how a mural is going to satisfy that objective. And then the next one is to promote Laredo as a destination for locals and tourists. Also, I think that is it is an ambitious and positive objective, but I don't see how that is connected to this murals program. And lastly, to attract visitors to downtown and stimulate economic growth, again, an ambitious and positive objective, which should be an objective of something, but I don't see how that is an objective of this murals program. So it looks like number 1, number 2, and number 5 are actually objectives of this murals program, and the other ones are ambitious objectives for something, for some kind of program, but I don't see how this murals program is going to satisfy that objective.
Yeah, and I know that we did talk about that at the last, or at best back in November. We can certainly consider, I believe at that time we discussed that those were more overarching ideas of the TERS in general, and that we would have to maybe exclude some of those items and come back with some different language, or create a different committee or program or something that sort of tackled those things. I believe that's kind of what was discussed at the November meeting. But I can work with economic development, and we can sort of finalize those items to put out to bid.
I would just say, I think to your point, maybe not for the mural program, but for overall strategy, I think of this, what the city's doing, what, the bid will hopefully soon be doing, and, some of the other efforts that we're all putting into downtown, hopefully all those sort of coalesce around promoting all those items.
And to your point, yes, hopefully, but that missing component, that missing program, that missing structure of that idea is, I think it's important.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's critically important that we shouldn't throw it in here and pretend it's happening when it's not. And maybe it's nitpicking, but there's no way to measure if a murals program or some art painted somewhere on a downtown wall is going to accomplish these things. These are important, but they don't belong here. They belong in an overall program that we don't have, and that I haven't seen. That I haven't seen. And I did have also some concerns.
Oh, absolutely, I did not mean
Okay.
to stop you at all.
So it seems like we have I think we have 3 working days before this deadline, right? Is it January 17th?
For the actual, to put it out, you mean, or to get them back?
It actually says,
I think it hasn't gone out yet, so any receivable dates, I think that would need to be adjusted.
oh, okay, so it has not gone.
Yeah, it hasn't gone out
Oh,
yet.
okay,
Yes.
so, yeah, because it does say, no late proposals will be accepted in
Yes.
bold and underlined in all caps.
Right,
And the date is January 17th, which is Tuesday.
yes, no,
Okay.
it hasn't gone out.
Okay, so
Yes.
this is a draft.
So we still have time. yes.
Okay, so there's still time, okay. Because I did also have some concerns about the evaluation criteria. And I see it's 25, 25, 25, an even 25, points for each one, a total of 100 points. And I saw that the cost of the mural is equal in
In rank.
weight,
Yeah,
right?
weight.
To an artist's experience. And I have a little concern about that. And then the second evaluation criteria reads 25 points for project location, intricacy, and appropriateness of design in meeting program revitalization objectives. And so again, there's the program revitalization objectives, which I believe is a missing component of our downtown redevelopment, and hopefully that happens at some point between now and June, right? Maybe arbitrarily. Because without a program or objectives that are overall, how are we going to measure any of this money that we're spending? And if it's going to make any difference. And then also, it ties the artist to a 5-year contract?
That's been the standard, from what I understand, the city's standard as far as having them come back and touch things up and, but yes, I believe that's if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's been the standards, the city's standard.
So whoever whoever the artist is, it says the artist will be responsible for the maintenance of the mural for a minimum of 5 years. Okay, so
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so I thought it was out, but,
Yeah.
and I'm volunteering again to be on whatever committee is looking at this proposal.
Okay.
So I have a question. What if I guess a mural gets damaged and it's not our property? What happens? Who pays for the fixing or like where does that here?
Well, it depends on what the normal sort of wear and tear damage, as I understand it from prior mural projects, is that the artist, that's part of the fee the artist is paid. If, on the other hand, it would probably come down to the contract, and I don't have the contract in front of me, but, if, for example, there's a fire that destroys part of the building the mural's on, I'm not sure exactly, if there's probably sort of an act of God.
Or
fire
graffiti,
force
for
majeure.
example. I mean, there's graffiti. Who's responsible for?
I believe, as it's provided, it's for the artist to maintain.
And so since these won't be the city's buildings, right? So what if I'm the owner and I say, I don't want it anymore? Is there something in the contract that says you must have it for X amount, and then how does it go back to normal again?
What had been discussed previously was that there would be a contract between the owner and the artist so that they agree that are going to be working together essentially to allow them to put their art on their building. I know we had a meeting where some various different property owners came in because we've identified like 4 or 5 locations already. And a lot of them have already agreed to say, yeah, we just want to know what it's going to be and we can come to an agreement and put it there. We have no problem putting a mural on our art. But I think there needs to be some sort of contractual
And then
agreement.
my other question, it's more technical. Where's the money coming from? Because if it's coming from bond money, it's coming from cash.
It's
It's
church
church
money.
funds.
My
No
understanding.
bonds. Perfect.
And it's already been voted, right? And it's already
$50,000.
assigned.
Yes. So I guess one thing, and we were talking at the office about, I think maybe a couple of years ago, or maybe it was like around COVID, that the board back then had like a board retreat or something where some ideas were put together, I guess to go over the mission statement, go over like you're saying we don't have a program. Well, maybe that might be a way to get together and work through a program that's not really part of a procedural meeting. I don't know if the board would be interested in considering that, but I think for us, as the program administrator, we're getting ready to issue phase 1. We're waiting on phase 2. We've worked through some of the wayfinding and monument markers. I don't know, like, what's next, right? Like, we're willing to sort of take on what's next. I think we're getting to that point now where we might need some overarching direction from the board to say, okay, these are our goals for the next 5 years or 4 years or 3 years or whatever it is that the board wants to consider. But I just want to throw that out there. I mean, obviously it's not an action item. You can't take action on that, but I think it would be good for the board to kind of get together and say, well, yeah, we agree that this is the direction that we should go. It's just something that was brought up. I'll leave that as food for thought. Anything else, Ms. Alexander?
Do you have anything to add, Mary? Feel free, please.
Good afternoon, Miriam Castillo, Economic Development Director. I guess just very briefly to address, as Rick mentioned, we've been working on finalizing this RFP. And I know we had a lot of conversations as well regarding the objectives for this program at the last meeting. If there's going to be a committee that will be formed, pretty much, I see this program, and this is not unknown for other cities. Downtown murals, it's one of the short, term goals that a lot of cities, some cities do put together to attract more, connect more than anything history with values and with downtown revitalization. But we'll be more than glad to form a smaller group and discuss further. It will delay a little bit the posting as well. We're hoping that we can post it by next week, and because we need to allow 20 days. And regarding the property damage on the murals, I am being told that since this is not necessarily city property, there is a requirement for insurance for property damage, and I assume that, that could cover that aspect of the concerns that are out there. Just wanted to
Appreciate
mention that very briefly.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do see a general, the commercial general liability insurance, but, if it's deductible of $5,000, it's still whose responsibility? Just FYI.
Okay. Moving on, just an update on the wayfinding. We did receive, I know at the last, or maybe a couple meetings ago, we approved an amount to move forward with FSG out of Boston to start producing the wayfinding markers. Subsequent to that meeting, we did have a walkthrough at the different sites, and they did come back to us with a cost for the electrical component. I believe that, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think we had approved up to 180,000 or something like that. The electrical costs that they presented for all 5 sites was, and I could share this with everyone, but I think it came back at like $75,000, something like that, for all of the electrical. I need to see how that fits into that overall $180,000 budget. We did sort of analyze it and look at that cost to see, well, what if we just got our own electricians to do it? Maybe that would be less expensive. It's sort of the pros and cons of, it might be cheaper to do it that way, but this is then a turnkey thing, and now we have 2 contractors involved, and it sort of gets a little messier when we do it that way. So we're still kind of vetting that cost with the vendor. What we'll do before the next meeting is send out all of this information to the board so that we can put an action item to decide how we want to move forward with that.
Excellent.
On the monument markers, the 2 monuments that we've been discussing are the Iturbide Monument and the Zaragoza Monument. The Iturbide Monument, I think we were holding off to work with KCI to develop the plaza where the monument's going to sit. I think we're ready to do that now. We can go out to bid whenever we feel like that's necessary or when we want to do that. So we'll visit with engineering to start having those discussions with them. The Zaragoza Monument, actually, we've opted to include that in the, is that right, Edward? I think we've opted to include that work as part of KCI's overall Phase 1 plan because it's more standalone. It's less intricate, I guess is a better way of saying it. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah, Edward Ochoa with KCI. Good afternoon, board members. So yeah, one of the last discussions we had was the Zaragoza Monument, which is going to be on the corner of Zaragoza and Santa Ursula. That one would be, we call it Block 10. So there's 9 blocks of the TERS Street Improvements Project, but that corner doesn't have any improvements other than that, so we call that Block 10 in our plans. And then the last discussion, as Rick said, originally the Iturbide monument was part of our Block 5 because it was contiguous with the Block 5 of Iturbide. But what we've done since some of the feedback that we got last was separated it out, and we call that Block 11. So we've developed those plan sheets in such a way that if the engineering department city decides just to go out to bid on the monument only, the improvements out of the monument, you just take those sheets out and can get built separately, right? That's kind of the discussion. So we do have those two in Block 10, which is Zaragoza, is in the plans, and 11 is currently in the plans but can be removed,
Right.
right?
Yes, that's correct. And we can go, when we get to phase one with design, we can go into a little bit more detail on that. As far as the phase two TxDOT MPO project, I did speak with Mr. Juan Mendive this morning, and he told me that TxDOT is currently, they're currently working on their draft, and that they'll be sending us notice of a meeting in a couple of weeks to kind of finalize that so that they can move that forward for that advanced funding agreement with TxDOT.
I did have a question.
As far as the Center for the Arts, the
Ms.
plazas,
Felicia, one moment.
Does that, I know you're working on the project, but does phase two, does that include trees?
yes. But like, what do you mean by trees? Like, we showed trees.
New trees.
Yes.
Are we getting, because that's where we were partnering up with, someone else, right, to get some trees?
Yeah, that grant is a separate grant. That was with RISC. I don't know the status of that grant.
I don't believe they received that grant.
Yeah,
No, we didn't.
yeah, I think it didn't go through. So anything that we do as far as trees will be as part of our scope of work.
Okay.
But yes, we're certainly looking at that.
And because we do have some trees in phase one,
Yes, we do.
right, but we don't have a plan yet to water them, right?
No, I think we're showing irrigation.
Or ongoing,
Yeah.
ongoing watering.
Yeah, I think we have some irrigation that we're proposing for all of these trees.
Okay.
As far as the alternative layout for the parking, I believe KCI is currently just waiting on getting their PO to get started. And they've done their surveying, but as far as actual generating plans, I think we wanted to also get through this phase one first. I believe at the last meeting, KCI mentioned that it's a pretty simple design. It might take them a few weeks or, you know.
Yes, so at the last, I believe the last board meeting we had was, or maybe it was a council meeting, it was asked about how long it would take. So we can probably turn around the angled parking plans in about 2 weeks.
Great.
So again, as Rick mentioned, we were wanting to get through completion of the TERS number 1 plans, and then we can knock that out. We've done a lot of the legwork already on the angled parking, surveying and things like that, so it won't take long to finish it up.
Great.
We did have,
I thought it was kicked out of council due to safety, no?
Then went back to council. It was approved.
Oh,
there was a
Mr. Ochoa
presentation.
gave a very, very convincing, video
I don't know about
presentation.
that. There, I believe it was either the early December council meeting, Ms. Cabello, or late November, I forget. But we went back and made a presentation at the request of Ms. Cigarroa, Councilwoman Cigarroa. So. But we are, as Rick kind of mentioned, we had, I believe the TERS board approved the additional services for that. And I'm pending the purchase order, you know, as a document. But, I mean, we'll get it done either way.
Thank you.
I believe that's it for our update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item 8, update discussion with possible action related to the Phase 1, TERS number 1, final construction drawings and procurement solicitation. Where did you put it, Rick?
So just a quick update on the plans completion. I guess between our last meeting and now, we had received some comments from the fire department. Pretty minor comments. We did have a meeting with the fire department and discussed their concerns and addressed their concerns. We believe we addressed their concerns. We talked through them on some concerns that they had at certain intersections. And we went ahead and addressed those in our plan sets. And we believe we've got that worked out. So that was kind of one of the bigger coordinations that we were doing during this time frame. So the other item that we talked about was trying to put the plans in the best position to where when they get bid out, the city and the TERS board has some room. If it happens to come in over bid, they have some room of maybe picking and choosing different parts, different aspects of it. And so the approach that was asked of us was consider putting Zaragoza blocks together, the San Agustin blocks together, and the Iturbide blocks together. So 3 streets, let's call it. And so that took some time in breaking down the bid items, organizing them in such a way. So we've done that already. If you can see on there, on the sheet, that's just kind of how we laid it out. So you've got Zaragoza, you've got the blocks on there. Let's see if I can zoom in. Oops. So you'll have, for example, Zaragoza street improvements. Zaragoza consists of block 1, block 2, and of course that block 10, which is the monument. And then you have all the items that are associated with that. So we kind of had to separate our quantities in that way. So we worked on that during this last time. And for the most part, we believe we've got our plans pretty much complete. The last little thing that we need to do to get to getting them turned into the engineering department for bidding is putting together the specifications. We're working on that, and we should probably have that. My goal is to have everything ready to submit for next week. So the specifications would include all of the materials, the bricks, the pavers, the lights, other things that we're coordinating with Able City.
So do you want to talk about the meeting we want to have this week for the CSP?
Oh, yes. Rick reminded me that we were talking this morning about looking at how the city engineering department, I guess engineering because it's going to get bid through engineering. I believe competitive sealed bid proposals was the approach that the TERS board wanted to do. And that was basically having some criteria that the board can use to rate the contractors, and then of course take their bid number 2. It's a little bit different than the low bid, which is normally done. So we would just need some direction so that we can include it in the bid proposals, what that criteria would be, what the scoring would be on that. And I don't know we've ever got that guidance or there's a criteria or we need to develop something, right? So we are probably going to reach out to Mr. Chavez just to see if we can get that taken care of.
Okay, great.
Chairman, I would suggest that if there's something that you can propose and that can be reviewed by the engineering department, that might be an easier way. So
Okay.
if you are proposing to go through an RFP and have qualification, I would say maybe providing that language too.
Okay. Yeah, we'll discuss that. Yeah, I mean, we can provide maybe what we think some of the criteria would be, but I think there's been some feedback maybe from the board too that they want to see, you know, as far as requirements of a contractor or maybe experience of a contractor or so on for the downtown. So we do plan on setting that up. I guess we'll try to see if we can set something up by Thursday or Friday.
Then to be ready to go to bid then the following week.
Yeah, my goal is the following week to get the entire package to the engineering department so that they can start to prepare. I guess it's going through engineering, Gina, right? Or go through them, yeah. So.
Okay, now in terms of the 3 breakdowns, you know, where you have the, you know, sort of the 3 separate streets, as you would, well, So if we have, bidder A comes in as too high, but they're lower on, or they qualify for 1 and 3, but bidder B looks better on street number 2, we can sort of pick and choose and move forward with 2 different bidders for those pieces? Is
Yeah,
that the
so
concept as well?
I think that's some of the discussion that we need to have to make sure that whatever language we put in the bid proposal or bid package for the contractor, that's very clearly laid out. Just if you're talking that out loud, if you have somebody that's low bid or better on 1 and 3, but not on 2, I don't think you want to have 2 contractors doing your project either. That could be difficult to manage, I would think. So I think it's developing the criteria of, score and low bid, and then there's a number. And then maybe when you select the contractor, then I believe once you're with the contractor, then you can say, okay, we only have money for 1 and 2, for streets 1 and streets 2, let's do those, right, or something like that. But I think, we might need some help from legal on that side of it too, as far as maybe what the city's experience on doing that.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
absolutely.
And my question, I'm new at this. I know most of you are seasoned at this process, but I would like to know, ultimately, we had decided that the Zaragoza was the first project, right? And who ultimately decides who wins the bid? Who decides?
That would be based on the criteria.
So I would say that we treat it just the way we would treat any bid. We would present that bid to the board, and based on the criteria that is going to be placed on the bid, and based on the way it's broken down, and based on your budget, the board might have to make a determination of which section goes first. I think the reason that we're breaking it down, it's not so much to have 2 contractors, it's really to make sure we have enough money to fully fund. Because if you bid out the whole project in its entirety, I believe right now our estimates, and which is another item that I was gonna remind the board to ask of the consultants, is to give us an updated estimate with closer numbers to what we're gonna estimate. And that's just for the board, that would not be placed out on the solicitation, but it's important to know how much is available based on the funding that we do have, and how much is realistically going to be able to be accomplished with that funding. So the sectioning out will have to be determined based on what those amounts come. So it might end up being what we call like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So this project number 1 might take more. In the way that we've taken care of, the city has taken care of some projects in the future, or in the past, is we end up with this great project, but then we have to break it down in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 because of funding availability. So we do one section that we can afford, and then we jump to the other one, and then we bid it out. So by sectioning, you're also able to bid out the second section.
Thank you for that clarification, but this board has voted handily and decisively that the first phase will be Zaragoza. That has been decided before in meetings past.
Yes.
So if one of the other phases is less expensive or easier to get done on the fast track, that will not negate that we've already voted and decided as a board in the past that Zaragoza is complex, but it will be phase 1, and we'll start there. So I don't want that to get lost in this process, and because things often get lost, that's why I wanted to make the clarification of who decides. Will every board member have the opportunity to see the bids and see the scores and be a part of the discussion on who will be chosen? And you're saying yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and so my understanding is that once the bids come in, our consultant will qualify those bidders.
Correct.
And then the board, just because of the size of the project, the board will serve as the review committee of all of the qualified bidders, correct? And then we'd make a determination based upon the criteria used to establish the RFP. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, the idea there is, as Tina was alluding to, was we think all 9 blocks may come in kind of high or over the amount. If you bid it and all the bids come in high, then you're going back through the process of having to rebid everything, and you're starting that process all over again. So we're trying to come up with a way that will help the city and the TERS board to maybe avoid having to go back to rebid. So we think by sectioning this out and giving some flexibility, as long as all the rules are laid in, and so that's kind of where the importance of the notice to bidders is.
Yeah. And I would just liken it to a prioritization of Zaragoza Street, and then just walk all the way through those streets. Once the money's gone, we're going to stop at that. That's the intent of what you've been trying to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Edward, a rough estimate of phase 1, Zaragoza, how much would you say more or less we're talking about here?
I don't know an exact number. I can probably maybe put something together and maybe email it to the board and share that, if I can get back with you on that. I mean, just because of how we started to break this out, it was, we hadn't kind of updated those numbers yet. But we'll work on that and get that for you. But kind of what you're talking about and what Ms. Alexander's discussing too is Block 1. We call it Zaragoza. Yeah. Zaragoza includes Block 1, the Block 2 in front of, the pedestrians coming out from bridge number 1, and then of course the monument on Block number 10. But what you're talking about is 1 and probably 2 also, right? Those 2 sections. So, but we can go ahead and get a price and kind of price that one out. We'll put one for the whole. We'll do an updated estimate for the whole thing. So we believe we've got the plans pretty much just complete and ready to go to submit. We're finalizing the bid specs, which we'll get with engineering department to do. Getting some of the language on how we do the competitive sealed bids. And once we get all that together, we'll just submit the package. So hopefully by next week is what I'm hoping for.
And it's all blessed by the fire department.
You can ask them that question if you want. I think the fire department and I think we've met enough. They probably haven't seen the latest plan sheet. I can email it to them. But the discussion was on block number 1, southbound Salinas turning on Zaragoza. Currently, right now, there's parking meters on the south side of the road. And we weren't doing any improvements on the south side of the road, but they were saying, what are you doing there? We had striped that out for kind of the taxi/loading zone. And in our discussion with them, they said they needed a little more room to be able to make that turn. And so we went ahead and we extended the no parking fire lane stripe to give them enough room to make that turn. So that's what we had to do to address that comment. And then we addressed a couple of other intersections and the truck ability to turn at different intersections. And I think we satisfied their comments on that. One of the things that we were talking about, we talked about adding some bollards. We showed them the detail to the bollard that we're using, which is a removable bollard. So if there's a bollard there and they have a need to remove it to get the truck through, it's a bollard that can be removed. It's a removable one. I don't want to say remove quickly, but they can remove it versus other bollards that you have that are non-removable. So I believe we addressed all of that with them.
I realize in this process, it's hard to get the private sector in here to pay attention. But on Zaragoza, I believe that there is a property in a strategic location that has just changed hands. And they have big plans for that property. And there might be an opportunity to speak with that new owner connected to what's going to happen at that corner.
On the north side or the south side?
On the south side. On the south side, and I'm hoping someday to be able to attend the parking committee, the illustrious parking committee meeting, because I do have some parking citations that I would like to discuss there, but if you get a parking committee, great.
Okay, I've made a note of that, but I guess, at this point, maybe showing them the plans, and just showing them what our plan is, and,
Because that's a strategic corner, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau that is closed on Saturdays for visitors is located right there at that corner. And, there's maybe some conversations that could happen connected to all of that. Traffic, the Convention and Visitors Bureau is located in a space that has very limited access, even though they do have a store that sells merchandise for promoting the city of Laredo.
okay. Yeah, I mean, Rick was reminding me, I guess, if there's something that we need to address or do, if the TERS board agrees to it, we can always issue an addendum to the plans if there's something, right, that has to get changed or modified, but, we would obviously need some direction from that if that's what is decided to do, right? But we'll make a note of that, and we can visit with you a little bit after about that new owner.
Well, I mean, if anything else on this item? Or?
No, I had already mentioned the Iturbide monument sheets, so again, we've separated out, part of the Iturbide improvements to go with the monument only. The last other thing, and I don't know if we've ever gotten direction from the TERS board, was, on block number 1 of Zaragoza, we coordinated with AEP to clean up and get us a price to clean up and upgrade the power poles that are there. And we did get that price, and I think shared it with everybody a few months ago. The only thing we need is, is that something is it a go or no go? Do we coordinate with AEP to begin the design on all of that? And how is that going to work with
What's
getting
that price?
Can we,
No, I don't, did you present it to the board? I don't remember that being presented with a price amount. I
need to
don't,
look back at how we sent it. I
Yeah.
thought it was through an email, maybe.
it would have to be presented to the board, and then the board would have to vote on, depending on that price, if they want to include it in the design at
Okay.
this point or not. I think that's what was requested.
yeah, I think then what we should do is, get that information over to everyone. We'll put that as an action item for next month.
Yes, go ahead.
We'll keep it separate from these plans on the construction side, because it shouldn't interfere with the
No, we
construction
had
itself.
always said that our plans account for the new pole locations if they go in there. So we've planned for both ways, everything existing or the new poles.
But there would have to be a revision to the plans if the board was to decide to put some of those lines underground, right? So it would delay the bidding out process.
Yeah,
But underground was way too excessive.
No, this particular block, this particular block, AEP said
Yeah.
They would not.
they could not do underground.
So the quote was just to remove some lines?
no, we have, right now, on the south side of Zaragoza, there is the wood poles with
Yes.
all of the spaghetti wire up there.
Uh-huh.
What we would be doing is taking all that down, putting metal poles on the north side to line up with the poles that are basic, so it would look like what's in front of the outlets.
Okay.
Those taller poles that get everything out of the way, and then that would clean up sort of all that mess that's on Zaragoza Street.
Okay. So it would just be, okay, so no underground, they would still be there, but they would be on the north side.
I do have a question. Has AEP come before this board? AEP, have they been invited?
AEP come, I don't believe so.
We've met with them out.
We've met with them in the field and walked the project, walked the location, and then coordinated with them to get us
I would have the question because I, as a property owner, have a bunch of AEP trash in the air, on a pole that I've looked at for the last 30 years. Why is it the TERS money's responsibility to clean up after what AEP has not cleaned up in 30 years?
That would be a question for them. I don't know
And I don't know what the, I don't know what the amount
their-
was.
I don't know
So
what the agreement.
the amount, go ahead.
Yeah, the AEP amount that we had was about 125,000. And that included construction, removal of poles, new poles, maintenance. It included, construction, retirement, and maintenance.
I guess retirement is.
Retirement is
Cleaning up. the
cleaning
stuff.
up the stuff, I
With
guess.
that they've left as a business, right? I mean, is that a private business?
That's a for
I mean,
AEP.
that's-
I don't know what I don't know what the agreement is between AEP and the city.
We don't get electricity for free at that property. But we have had many, many years of what maintenance and retirement.
Yes.
It hasn't happened.
Right.
And so I'm concerned that the TERS monies would be used to clean up, after that is a private business, right? Yeah.
We're agreeing with the city, maybe legal can help us with sort of understanding what the city's relationship is with AEP in terms of cleanup and whether they can leave the, sort of bird nest up there or then charge, whether it be the TERS or private citizens to clean it up. But we can, I think that should be part of the discussion next month if we're gonna move forward with spending those monies, whether we should be spending those dollars on it.
I mean, I don't know that they have, I mean, it seems like they have a responsibility to be neat and orderly about their business.
Yeah, okay. I'll make a note of that.
Well, and maybe they can come and explain why, private taxpayer money should, pay for that, for them. I mean, to hold them responsible.
Okay.
The board can request, I guess through a motion that, that you invite, AP to come and give you, I guess, a presentation of what that invoice or that proposal is.
Would you like to make
If
that
that's what
motion,
you
Ms.
want.
Alec?
I will. I move that we invite AEP to talk about the bird's nests.
The costs.
Yeah.
Well,
And at
I
that
mean,
point, maybe there can be some.
Not just the costs, but their civic duty, right, as a
Right.
community,
Yeah.
business, and, yeah, the berry vines would be fantastic.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Oh, I had a motion, yeah, I moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously to have AEP present, or invited to be present to discuss the,
Who will reach out to AEP, I guess, us, okay.
okay, and I will also, I'm not sure it's necessary because I think we've already authorized, but just for the sake of clarity and, sort of point of order, I'd like to make a motion to direct our consultants to go ahead and go to bid next week once they finalize the procurement paperwork so we can start turning some dirt.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries forward as well. Next up, item 9, discussion with possible action regarding invoices submitted by Able City and KCI Technologies. I don't remember seeing them in my packet, but I may have missed them.
No, Mr. Co-Chair, we did not receive any invoices as of right now. We don't have anything pending. I will follow up with the amendments that you mentioned.
Yeah, there were two of them. There was one amendment that I had submitted called number 2,
Yeah,
which was the
okay.
AEP, and then the number 3 was the annual parking.
Okay, so we will discuss that with our engineering department and then bring them to the board, for review and approval. But at this time, there is no pending invoices. No,
Pending payment, just no new invoices to
yes,
approve.
yeah, pending to approve the payment, but, and nothing for you to review at this time.
Excellent. We didn't receive any citizen comments during the course of the meeting?
No citizen comments.
Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn?
I'm hoping that we can meet to look at the, I know it was the holidays, and so it was hard to plan, but, the plan along, the little piece of convent that's gonna be improved,
Piece of convent.
convent.
Okay, yes.
The intersection of Convent. and
Yes,
Santa
because
Rosa.
there was, the last picture I saw had a ramp, and,
We-
so,
Yeah, we took your comments and addressed that already. I can bring it up real quick if you'd like.
sorry, guys.
Bring it out just a hair. So that's the intersection of Convent and Zaragoza. This is the northwest corner. We went ahead and relocated the ramp to this side. So there's no ramp on this side anymore. Before, we had a ramp somewhere about right here.
That ramp is going down or up?
The ramp here would go down. And remember that what we're doing at the Convent intersection is making this to where this is the same level as the road. Basically the ADA ramp, right, the sidewalk area. So this sidewalk area right here is the same level as the road. Same as here. This is an area that's at the same level of the road. And then this side also has the same. What we had last time was we had a ramp near the curb inlet. This is the curb inlet that's square with the circle. The ramp was somewhere about right here. But we went back and re-looked at how we could access the lower area. We just need to be able to access it on one side. So we took the ramp from this side and put it over on this side.
Doesn't that street go up?
This street goes up. Yeah, this street goes up.
And Zaragoza doesn't go up?
Zaragoza goes up some too. I mean, they both go up. Everything goes up from, everything goes down towards the river, right? So
But the ramp is going down.
the ramp is going down, but remember that those ramps are only going down just to make up for the curb height, right? The sidewalks are always 6 inches, about 6 inches higher than the street level. So what this ramp is doing is taking the elevation from the sidewalk level down to the street level so that now the pedestrians are at the street level to cross.
Yeah, I won't take more time here, but I would like to meet with you to look at that intersection.
I'm always available, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. To entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, motion second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 4:30. Thank you.